was working for Bob Lazier doing, I think we were doing Super V's in those days.
Cars are a culmination of technology, they're a culmination of people's dreams, and they mark a point in time.
And I was in a race car shop, and there was a sign on the Coke machine that said Shelby Can-Am car, I don't know, $5,000 or something like that. Well, what do you think?
Beautiful.
So I went back to Bob Lazier, who knew Shelby and, you know, used to race in a Trans Am series.
I'm happy to meet you and happy to finally see this.
Yeah, and he said, yeah, he built a Can-Am car, raced it for a year, and it kind of dropped out of sight.
Everything I was hoping.
Terrific. That makes my day.
So I thought, geez, you know, that'd be really cool to have a, you know, one-of-one Shelby. So anyway, over the next 10 years or so, I kind of looked for it. I finally wrote Shelby, and he said, yeah, we did one. And he told me to contact Remington. So I contact Remington, and he says, yeah, well, we raced it in '67 and then sold the whole thing to a guy named Mike Kozlowski, who lived in L.A. at the time, but we don't know, you know, where he went to.
And this car is a '67 Can-Am car of Shelby's, and this is, in a way, the pinnacle of what was happening in motorsports at that time.
So another decade goes by, and I'm looking in the classifieds of Auto Week, and there's an ad, old Can-Am parts for sale, Mike Kozlowski, Redland, California.
Another thing that amazes me is how Kozlowski still has boxes of original spares.
So I was talking to Kozlowski. He said, well, I bought the whole car and everything from Shelby at the end of the the Stardust Grand Prix in Las Vegas, because they crashed it.
That's another nice thing about the cars. It's a vehicle to connect the people. Mr. O'Leary, John Collins, Phil Remington, Mr. Shelby, they're still around, they're still vital, and they're going to help finish this car again 40 years later.
He said, so they took everything off of tub number 1, put on tub number 2, sold that to me along with a spare tub.
Probably going to have to go on an angle here.
And I knew what a tub was, because we were racing cars at the time, and I said, well, you know, whatever happened to the tub?
I found the prototype 351 blocks, and then Mr. Collins, who we're meeting tomorrow, suggested I call Jim O'Leary, who built the motor the first time around.
And he said, geez, you know what? I haven't thought about that in 20 years.
I can open that gate if you want to.
She said, I kind of sold it to a friend of mine, and he kind of never paid me for it. And he said, I'll call you back tomorrow.
So does it look familiar?
Yeah. I couldn't remember what this stuff's like. No idea what that was like.
This is chassis number 3. It's set just like this against a one-car garage in Southern California for 20 years.
Yes, it got the English rivets in it, right? Yeah. You can tell on the American rivets they got a little tiny dimple in the center.
And then it's set in my garage for another decade or 2.
A long time no see.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah.
And it's finally coming out in the light, and it's finally going to get done.
Yeah.
In that case, you're probably going to have to make yourself a wooden buck or some sort of a form for the guys to rough out the panels on. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. If there was...
I thought you could whip it up for me.
we don't have a hammer anymore. If you had...
These guys won world championships.
Was there a single upper link or was it
Yeah.
a V-shape? Do you remember?
There's one.
The upper control was a single?
Yeah.
Must have had a radius rod, didn't it? Like
Yeah.
to support it.
Yeah, the radius rod here, and then there's another one I guess come out down
To
here.
the bottom, huh?
Then it had the 2 links. One of them things broke off on us at Vegas. That's why the thing crashed.
First monocoque chassis.
Then we finally finished up cutting holes in the thing and sanding the radiator up, I think.
Yeah, you ducted it out the top eventually, didn't you?
Yeah, come out the top. There's a photo here somewhere with the holes in the top.
Last of King Cobras.
Because I've been trying to figure out if this was the last Shelby American car or not.
I think it was that. To my knowledge, this was the last Shelby car, you know, that was built
first car to use tubular sway bars.
There was a guy named Paul Lamar. He was some sort of engineer, and he was out at Riverside when we was running this stuff. And we were sitting down there talking about getting some weight out of this. And I said to Paul, I said, well, pity we couldn't get some, put some tubular bars on instead of. And he said, oh, I'll do some figures tonight when I get home. And he come back the next day and he wrote this stuff down. Well, if you say 065 tubing, it corresponds to say 5/8 bar and all this sort of stuff.
I see the different
different thickness walls. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's how tubular bars come about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it was just done as see if we can say some weight.
If you see the diamond in the rough and you see its historical significance, it's not really a part of my life, but it's part of the guys that built it in '67.
I think it's going to be terrific to have on the road where people can see it, and it can go from almost fable to reality.
It's worth preserving.
I keep trying to think ahead when it's finished, and I know the road's going to be worth it.
When it gets all done, everybody will understand that. But until then, only a few people understand.